Alright, so another little generative patch on the OPXY. This one is actually super simple, but reverb just worked quite quickly into something that is quite floating and quite easy to enjoy. I've kept the the visual elements as well. So this is the Norns shield, and this is a little rain script that I put together, like inspired by a few other existing ones, but it's got a nice little kind of like generative visualization of the rain, so that always adds a bit of atmosphere. And this is the FAV by Burnslap, which is this super cool, crazy device that reacts with the audio to make these ferrofluids jump out of kind of like this floating little window. So always an interesting visual element to have for a track. So let's have a look at what we've got here. So same as before, I haven't figured out how to get a drone to kind of like run continuously without having to arm it first on the OPXY. So if anyone has figured it out, let me know. But basically here I've got two drones that are running in the background, so I'll just get them started. And I have like hold on, so once they are kind of like on, they're just gonna keep on going. There are two kind of like different octaves, and basically I've made the bar again super long, 16 kind of like the maximum length. And what I've done, making sure that like the shape is very smooth so that any information about all the knobs and parameters that is recorded is going to smoothly transition from one step to another. I've basically kind of like let it run with like very subtle movements around the engine parameters, but also on the LFO, so kind of like a bit more resonance, a bit lower cutoff frequency, and that just makes the drone as as close as what you would get on a modular synth. So that just runs in the background all the time. Well, that's without the filter, but you can see that like sending quite a lot to the reverb, and the reverb is really like maxed out to get it building up. So once we've got that running, let's have a look. So we have this. So this is quite nice. Basically, there is a new player which is called Maestro, and you enter a few different kind of like notes, and if you crank up the space between the notes, it kind of like plays them out as a strum, and you can make that kind of like going up or down or randomly. And so basically this is what I'm getting here, and you can see that sometimes it's going up, sometimes it's going down. And same, like all of these sounds, I've got a lot of kind of like frequencies cut off so that it feels quite distant, and the send to the delay and reverb are quite high. Then I've got my chords, so let's see where they are here. This one is this. Keeps on going. Got three sections that like play slightly different chords, but they are these super simple background chords. I think this sound is this ambient piano, so that's very much kind of like doing what it says on the tin, and a little bit of LFO on this one, but really subtle, just so that there's a bit of movement. Then I've got this one, which is basically I've got like just one note that is playing over 2 bars, so that is quite some delay before this note gets triggered, and it actually doesn't get triggered, so it's always like plugged in to be the same note. And if you look at like the step components that are activated, so I've got these 3 things. So the first one is here, it only triggers at a random kind of like occurrence, so that's the 0 here. Then it changes the note randomly within an octave between 4 steps, so that's going to kind of like make it relatively stable, but like variations. And this is quite cool, like this portamento is set on a random amount, so it means that like it's going to glide to the next note, but always with something a little bit different. Very simple, but it actually kind of like feels like there is a bit of a generative autonomous character on it. And the last thing that I've got is this. So this is a little ping, almost like some broken space machine that is kind of like losing a bit its rhythm. And you can see that I've only kind of like let it run for a small number of steps, 7 steps, so it is non kind of like set on the rest of the bar, so it's always going to be a little bit offset. And here I've got I think almost all of them have a random chance to trigger, maybe not the last one, and one of them is kind of like at a different velocity, so you can see that this one, the velocity is kind of like going to always change, so give it a bit more variation. But that's pretty much it. That's very low volume, so it's actually going to just run on the background. So let's see what it looks like. So you can see that in terms of reverb, really kind of like getting as big of a size of reverb that you can get. This tone, if you go too high, then it really starts to kind of like get stuck with the higher notes, so I find that this is kind of like the right balance. And that's just kind of like could run for a while and still be quite pleasant to listen to. So what else did I do from there? So moving in terms of my patterns, actually it's super simple, but you can see that like it's only in my chords that I've actually kind of like input some different chords, and I've just like decided to mute different tracks on the different phases. So the first kind of like scene, I've got everything running with the bass kind of like 2 chords. Then on kind of like the second one, it's actually a little quieter because I've muted the gliding portamento like notes, and I've just added 1 or 2 notes on the chords to kind of like make it a little bit more interesting. And the last one is actually kind of like everything quiet except the chords and the drone, and that's to actually kind of like have a bit of a moment of relaxation. So that really is all there is to it. And so you can see the little sequence that I've made, super simple, 3 times the number 1, and then 2, 3, and then it just goes back and it loops and it loops. And the final thing, just to kind of like show what's going on, is in this case I'm actually kind of like sending out some of the audio to the ferrofluid visualizer, and I'm only sending the little kind of like beep beep pings from the voice number 2 and a little bit of the chords. And so what it does is quite cool. It's like every time there's the chord, kind of like sticks the whole blob in the center, and then like as the chord fades it drops down, and then that's why the pings are kind of like sending the little explosions. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So nice little simple generative sequence that was actually surprisingly chill and hitting the spot, so makes me want to spend more time on the OPXY and really push the generative options to the max. Here we go.